Welcome to Construction Genius. This is Eric Anderton. My guest today is Walt Stahl, president of the Stahl Companies, a construction management company that does work throughout the state of California in the healthcare industry. And Walter and I today have a wonderful conversation about the succession plan that he is going through. He's built a business over the past 20 years as the owner of his organization with his wife, and we talk about how he is transitioning it to a team, an internal team of employees who have been with him for a long period of time. We talk about the unique structure of the transition deal, how Walter identified the people who he's going to transition the company to, the challenges and opportunities that that transition has presented to him, as well as how he's dealt with his own personal fears of going through a transition from being a full-time owner to passing the company off to other folks. There's a tremendous amount of insight in this interview that you are going to find very helpful. And the first insight I'll just share with you off the top is this. You must start your transition plan much sooner than you think, and even before you are prepared to do it. So please listen to this interview with Walt. I know you'll find it useful. Give us some feedback. Go out to Apple or Google or wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating and a review. Share it with other people in your organization and with other construction companies. And feel free to contact me through my website or on LinkedIn. I'd love to get your feedback on the show and help you in any way that I can. Thank you for listening today. This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. Well, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us here on Construction Genius.
My pleasure.
You know, it's interesting. Here we are. You and I both live in California, and right next door to us is the state of Nevada, and you have just purchased a house there.
Yeah, that's correct. We're pretty excited about it. As a matter of fact, it's happening as we speak, and it's adding a little bit to the stressful life of running a business and trying to move a household all at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, you've been in business for 20 years. And you're here in California. Why are you purchasing property in Nevada and moving there?
So my wife and I have had a plan in place for many, many years, and that plan consisted of having a house somewhere where it was cold and a house somewhere where it was warm. We have been blessed with having a place up in Lake Tahoe on the Nevada side.
Beautiful.
And we contemplated purchasing property or buying a home in Phoenix because we are big spring baseball fans.
Okay. Who's your team?
Our team, your listeners are going to probably be upset, but we're big Dodger fans.
You know what? I feel for you, Walt. No, but my two best friends are Dodger fans. And so, I've been commiserating with them the last few years, both because the Giants have sucked and they've had their hearts broken in the World Series.
Exactly. Well, I can say that if the Astros do what is right, they're going to give those rings back to the Dodgers. But that's another story.
Oh man, we could go on. I actually agree with you, man. Those guys need to give back the rings, and they should just give them to the Dodgers, huh?
But anyways, we were going to buy property in Phoenix, and we decided that rather than split two states like we're doing now between California and Nevada, when we retired, we were going to have just both places in one state. So we started looking at Nevada. We purchased a home in a community called Summerlin, which is about 20 miles west of Las Vegas, up in the Red Rock Canyon. And we were planning on doing that in a couple of years, but an opportunity presented itself sooner than we were prepared for. So we jumped at the opportunity to purchase the home. So we've done that now. Okay,
so that's interesting. So you're at the point in your life, at the point of retiring, and yet you're the president of your own company?
Yes. Retirement's, I don't know if that's the right word, but certainly succeeding or transitioning might be a better word.
Okay.
Preparing my leadership in the succession program to take the business and run with it. And my role would probably transition and change into something less than what it is, but as important as what it is.
Okay, so let's talk about that then, because I know that there's many folks who are listening to this show who own construction companies, and whether you're 5 years out or whether you're 15 years out, succession is something that you're definitely thinking about, or you should be at least. Tell us a little bit about the structure of your company to begin with. How are you currently structured?
So we are currently an S corporation,
Uh-huh.
California based. Uh, my wife and I own the company, and full ownership. We have approximately 27, 28 employees.
Uh-huh.
We have a leadership structure of myself as president. We have a vice president. We have a COO and a CFO.
Okay.
And then we have a layer of project managers and assistants and coordinators.
Okay.
We're strictly a California healthcare construction management company,
Okay.
focusing strictly in California at this time.
So as you sit right now, you and your wife are the sole owners of the business. You have a layer of executives underneath you, and then a layer of other folks.
Correct.
What approach are you taking to this succession transition that you're going through?
So initially, the approach I was going to take, I'm part of a leadership group of executives that own their own businesses of various degrees, and we learn from one another. And one of the things that they convinced me to do was to have my company valued, which I did.
And what is that executive group you're a part of?
It's called the Sierra CEO Group. And it's a
Interesting.
group. Yeah, it's a group of people that own their own companies. Everything from Jim Boy's Tacos to CrossFit gyms and quasi-government type consultants.
Nice.
Yeah, so a good group of people I've been with for a long time. But anyways, yeah, so they have suggested that I get my company valued, which I did a few years ago.
Okay, so when you
And
did that, were you surprised by the result?
no, not really. I don't think so. I guess it was more of a timing thing because when times are good and business is thick, you know that number is going to be a little bit higher. But this was back a couple, 2 or 3 years ago when business was okay, wasn't as good as it is right now.
Right.
It was okay, but nonetheless, the number came in. I was pleased with the number, but I had to make a decision after receiving that number as to whether or not I was ready to sell the company, and I opted not to sell it.
Huh.
I opted to transition it over to my leadership. And so that's kind of what we're pursuing right now.
Okay, so let me ask you that. Did you have an offer on the table to sell the company?
No, I did not.
You did not.
I was
Okay.
I was going to go to market
I see.
with this M&A outfit, but I chose not to.
And what drove the decision not to do that?
Well, I have a team of people that have worked very hard to help me get here.
Uh-huh.
Though I could probably secure some level of agreement or confidence that they would be with any new ownership, it couldn't be any stronger than if I were to, somehow give them ownership opportunities for all the hard work that they've done for me. So that's the process and the direction that I'm heading.
I think it's an interesting question. What is the underlying foundation of the value of your company? What is the value that your company was placed at? What was it based upon?
Yeah, that is a great question because we are a construction management firm. Therefore, we're not really building anything, nor do we have a lot of asset equipment type stuff. So the value of our company was the contracts and the relationship with our clients.
Right.
So we at the time had some great contracts that we're just finishing up. We have several contracts, and so the value is in contracts. It's in the experience of the team and the relationship with the industry that we work with.
So that's interesting. So in your industry, you work as a construction management on a contract basis, and does that take you from project to project?
Yeah, so I mean, we develop with every project we have, we have contracts with them, right?
Okay. Yep.
But we also have ongoing contracts on campuses.
Right. Right.
So not only do we have a major project under our belt at a given time, but we may have 15 or 20 projects on that campus that we're doing, and those smaller projects are renewing themselves all the time.
So that's so interesting because that in and of itself would lend a lot more value to your business in that you have some sort of level of reoccurring revenue coming in based on those contracts.
And based on the people that we have managing those contracts, exactly.
Interesting, interesting. So let's go back to this idea of the transition. You got the business valued. You decided not to go the M&A route. You decided to go the internal route. Tell me about how you went through that process and how that's been going so far.
Well, right now, we're in process, and I'm working with our CPA who's been with me for nearly 20 years, and our lawyers, our attorney firm that's been with us for at least 15 years, and we're working through that process as we speak now. So right now, I have a leadership group that I am looking at distributing various levels of ownership to as gifting.
As
And
gifting.
as gifting, and then in addition to that, there will be sales of ownership as well.
Interesting. Okay, so let me back you up real quick. You don't have to answer this question if you don't want to, but you want to give your CPA or your lawyer a plug just as far as who they are
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Our CPA is Alan Byer. He's out of Santa Rosa.
Alan Byers.
Go back, like I said, 20 years, and our common denominator is the University of Southern California. We're both USC alumni.
Okay.
He was not going to take me on as a client. And I said, that's a shame. I understand that USC alum always take care of each other. And when he found out I was a USC alum, he took me on.
There you go.
And we've been together 20 years.
So he's Alan Byers out of Santa Rosa.
Alan Dyer out of Santa Rosa. And then our attorneys are Murphy Austin, very well known here in Sacramento.
Yeah, they're
Let
ballers.
me just tell you a quick story how I met them.
Yeah.
I was holding a Texas Hold'em poker tournament at my house.
Uh-huh.
And I had 40 people in my home after I had recently remodeled it, and we were holding a Texas Hold'em poker tournament, and there were two women that attended it. And as they were leaving the evening, I introduced myself, and one of them was an attorney for Murphy Austin, focusing on healthcare construction.
Hey.
And we've been together ever since. And Murphy Austin has taken great care of not only me on a professional level, but personal level, as well as my children and the businesses that they're in.
Excellent. So that's a good plug for all construction companies out there. Make sure you got your CPAs and your lawyers lined up, folks that you can trust and work with.
Yes. Thank you, Eric, for letting me do that.
Yeah. So now let me just go back here to this idea of gifting. Tell me about that, because I don't know about you, but man, if I've built a business with blood, sweat, and tears, I'm not sure I'm going to want to gift it to people. Tell me about that.
I'll tell you what. I'd be lying if I said it was, easy. It's a difficult thing to do because you're literally giving away part of yourself.
Wow.
I am serious when I say that these individuals who I am considering gifting to have toiled with blood, sweat, and tears as much as I have over the last 12 to 15 years.
Wow. So it was something. It wasn't something lightly done, and it was done because of your perception of the contribution they've made to your company over the years.
Exactly.
As you've gone through this process here, what conflicts have arisen as you've begun to select the group that you want to gift the company to? And it sounds like you've got a sell part to it as well.
Yes. Well, I would say that there is no conflict yet. The only conflict is within myself of parting with something that I've worked so hard. Even knowing that I want to gift it, it's just not. It's almost like gifting your child, if you will.
Yeah.
I would say that the conflict that will arise will be that the percentages will not be necessarily equal, and I'm hoping and praying that those individuals that receive it will receive it with the intention that it was meant for, and the percentages will be such that they will be pleased with it. But the level of leadership that's going to receive varies. So there are going to be some folks that have more ownership than others because I want them to ultimately be those that lead the company over those that I just gift ownership to.
Yeah, no, so there's different proportions, different sizes.
Yes.
And now, will there be any kind of financial transaction involved, or is it just purely a gift?
Purely a gift initially.
Right.
And with the understanding that, I maintain a percentage that keeps me in control, then I will eventually sell that controlling ownership as I ride into the sunset.
Interesting. So this is an interesting thing because there's so many different ways to skin this particular cat of transition, and companies struggle with this so much. So you're taking this approach of, on the one hand, gifting, but then retaining control, and then eventually releasing that control through selling that control to a group of people at a later date.
That's correct. Yeah. And in this CEO group that I was mentioning I belong to, I had the pleasure of learning, because so many of them have since sold their companies or they had more than one company. There are so many ways, Eric, as I'm sure you're aware. There are so many ways to transition out of a company, and I was just amazed and overwhelmed with the different options that I had.
Right. No,
But
I
the one
know.
thing that never left me was the idea of how hard these people worked to help me get here, and the
Mm.
fact that I wanted to gift them something.
So let me ask you this: if someone's listening to this podcast and they're intrigued by this idea of sort of the combination of the gifting plus the eventual sale of a portion of the business, is there a particular resource they might go to, or a case study, white paper, book that they might look at that would give them some more insights into this?
I wish there was. The best I could do is I could give them my phone number.
All right.
Yeah, no, there is no white paper or book or directions. I'm kind of going by the seat of my pants, but more importantly, by the wisdom of those around me.
So you are getting feedback from that CEO group that you're involved in, and that's helping you?
I am from them as well as my CPA and the attorneys.
That's very good. So it's not just something where you're casting off into the great unknown by yourself, but you're coming with some support.
Yeah, if I did it on my own, I'd probably screw it up, Eric.
Well, I know that if someone's listening to this and they really want to get a hold of you, since your name's out there in the public, they can find you if they want to.
Yes, they can very easily. I'd be more than happy to talk to them about it.
Okay. As you're going through this process, what are some of the biggest challenges that you're facing?
Timing would be one.
Okay.
As I mentioned, I had a plan that was going to take a couple of years, and part of that plan was moving my residence, and that happened sooner than later.
Right.
So timing is one. Finances, obviously, distribution portions. We're currently going through a revision of our strategic plan. We're a very dynamic company in that our projects are, we're always getting new projects. We're getting big projects. We're getting small projects, and that's coming in the way of trying to make all this transition happen as well. But so timing, money, personnel issues. I would say that the personnel issues would be the biggest challenge, and I don't mean that in a bad way, Eric. I mean that in a good way. In that the leadership team that I have, they're tremendous. I wouldn't trade them for the world. But at the same time, there's, as in life, there's a first place, second place, third place, and fourth place always, right? And so somebody's going to get a little bit more, a little bit different, a little bit less than others. And I'm hoping that personnel-wise, we can maintain our relationships and our focus as we move forward into the future.
Okay, so let's address that. Let's address that just a little bit. First, have you had those conversations about the differences in proportion and ownership proportion?
Not completely, but yes, I've started it already.
Okay, and what has been good about those conversations? What has been challenging?
I think the good part is the desire to want a piece of it. My CFO once said, "Why would anybody want to be an employer in the state of California, right? Especially after going to some of these legal seminars and listening to the new laws." But having spoken at length with our CPA, she realizes the importance of, if you will, of ownership, right, of a company. And so understanding what ownership means, well, that's been a bit of a challenge because there's tax responsibilities or tax burdens that come with transferring of ownership to people.
Yep.
I'm not suggesting that my team always sees the light at the end of the tunnel. Because many times it is that train coming, right? So they realize that there are going to be some tough pieces of this thing to work through financially, taxes, but in the end, I think it'll be a good thing.
So it's interesting to me because I know when I talk to a lot of folks going through transitions, the first generation, one of the first things they talk to me about, they say, Eric, I want to transition it to some other folks. And when I begin that conversation, their first thought is, yeah, I want to be an owner. But then when they realize what comes along with that, particularly when, let's say you're a construction company and you're signing your name and, you're making a personal guarantee on a contract, that begins then to sort of take the sheen off of this idea of ownership.
Yeah, I'll give you an even bigger one than that. That certainly is, right? There's decision making, responsibility, and risk, but when ownership is transferred in a calendar year or in an economic year, there's a tax burden that goes with it, right? So when somebody says, "I want it all and I want it now,"
Yeah, right.
and you explain to them what all and now means, then they tell you, well, you know what, I'll take a little bit now and a little bit later and a little bit later because of the tax risk that comes with it.
So is that where the timing issue comes in?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first thing you have to do, well, let me ask you this. What is in your mind, what is the first thing you had to do as you sort of put the succession plan in place? Was it dealing with the personnel, or was it thinking about the timing, or how did that all work for you?
You know, Eric, to be honest with you, it was really coming to terms with the idea that I was willing to start it because, I don't want to say it's the end of the road. It certainly is not because I plan on being involved for Lord, willing for many years to come. But it's coming to the realization that you're at your end of your career. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two is determining who those personnel are because we got a lot of good people. But I mentioned briefly earlier that 12 to 15, 17, 18 years of employment by some of these people
Yep.
have been with me all along through the struggles, through the good times and the bad times. But most importantly for me is who in that group is going to stand out as the leader to move this company to the next level. Uh,
Okay.
and I have just recently identified that individual, and now I'm responding to that decision accordingly.
Okay, so I want to take a couple of things here. I'm going to get back to this end of career thing because I think it's huge, but you just talked about identifying who the leader is because you're the leader of your company, you're the sole owner, but you're transitioning to a team, but you seem to have that insight that within the team there needs to be a first among equals kind of thing.
Exactly.
So what caused you to be able to say this is the person? What were you looking at there?
Well, it's been over time, Eric, and I say time as in, realistically, the last 2 or 3 years, I've watched these people and
Okay.
how they interact, how they lead, how they decide, and one of them has emerged clearly as a front runner in the way they deal with people,
Mm,
not only externally, which is very, very important, but more importantly to me is how they deal internally with the team of folks that we have here. And I'm not suggesting for a moment that any one of them uh, does not respect and appreciate our entire team, but coaching, mentoring, relating, respecting, investing, leadership takes a lot. And not everybody has that. There are some people that are meant to be great number twos,
right.
great number threes, and there are those that should be number one.
So then let me ask you this. What is it that separates the number one from the number two in your mind?
In my mind, it is the charisma, the ability to uh, interact with people, engage with people, and capture the attention and the excitement of the people that you're interacting and engaging with.
Interesting. Interesting. That's it's one of those things where I know what you're saying and it's not always easy to identify. You know what I mean?
You're right. I mean, when you look at number crunching for business purposes, when you look at risk or risk averse, when you look at decision making, those things are all important. Don't get me wrong. And some people take a little bit longer. Some people avoid. Some
Mm-hmm.
people jump into it. But how you deal with the folks, how you deal with the people, and I know you know this, but there's a saying, right? You can't be a leader unless you got followers.
Yeah, yeah.
And so this individual that I'm talking about has people that are willing to follow him.
Okay, so then it leads me to another question, and I'm wondering: have you used with your team any assessments, outside assessments, that have given you any kinds of insights into their personalities, or is it something you've just grown as you've observed them? You've got more data.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking. That's a great question. We've invested heavily in various programs to identify, where those individuals are on a scale. For example, 360s evaluations. We've done those. We have brought coaches in to help us take a look at roles and responsibilities. We have taken on various Myers-Briggs type uh, programs to determine or to tell us who we are, how we interact with folks. Strength finders.
Strength finders.
Yeah, we've done several of those types of programs. We've done a lot of team building. I take it very personal, Eric, for me to stand back and watch how my leadership interacts both internally and externally. I pride myself on spending a lot of time doing that. I cannot overemphasize, I would say this to any leader, that if you're not spending time, and I'm not talking about days or weeks, I'm talking about months and years of standing back and watching how your people interact over long periods of time, that you know they're going to be with you for a while, that to me is priceless.
Okay, so that begs another question then, real quick, is let's say you're in this observation mode, which is again a long-term commitment, as you're saying, and you're observing your people in action, and you're seeing things that you don't like. What is your response in terms of going from an observation to an intervention mode? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying, and but I would say that it wouldn't be a matter of what I don't like. I think it would be more a matter of I see things that need to change, and so fortunately or unfortunately, when you see those things, you have to make a decision to either invest in that individual and hope that you can change it, or you don't. Right? I had a coach one time tell me, you shouldn't get upset when I'm in your face yelling at you. You should get upset when I'm not in your face yelling at you, because then that tells you that I don't give a rat's, I don't care about you.
Yeah, yeah.
So these individuals I do care about. So I have gone as far as brought in folks to help me, identify situations and then work on correcting some of those if they're warranted, if it's worth the investment.
Yes.
And I say yes to the people that I have because they are worth that investment.
Interesting. So that idea of observation and then the intervention being not just a sort of an immediate one, but with the idea of seeing a behavioral change over time, it sounds like.
Exactly. Developing takes time.
Yeah, it definitely does. So then let's pivot back then to this end of career thing, because I think it's an interesting thing, because as we age, we understand, as we look in the mirror, that we're getting older. But in our minds, we don't necessarily, we don't necessarily think that we are, or it's kind of hard getting to that point of saying, it is time for a transition. So how did you reach that point? What sort of struggles or challenges did you have there?
Well, not that I had, but that I am having, right? Fortunately, again, by the grace of God, I see myself this way, Eric. I have seen a lot of organizations where people have overstayed their welcome. You got a lot of young folks. I'm a big believer in change. I believe that change is good, right? However, that's got to be balanced with relevance, because the biggest fear that people have in retirement is relevance. Will I be relevant when I leave? Well, how will I do that, right? When I started my company 20 years ago, my wife decided she didn't want to work anymore. It was very easy for her to do that.
Right.
And her relevance was our children, our grandchildren, right? Staying active, always busy. There are times I think, what am I going to do? I'm not suggesting that I'm going to fade off into the sunset overnight. We're still talking about some time here, but I have to, as I eliminate things, I have to fill that with something else, and I got to figure out what that is. And it caters around relevance, like-minded people, the things that are going to keep my mind sharp, because the last thing that I want to do is overstay a welcome in an organization when I should be stepping aside and letting that change take place.
So that's interesting. So in terms of this negotiating with yourself the end of career, it sounds like what you're saying is that what owners of companies need to do is they need to be able to think through what's next.
Yes.
And
or at least have something, have something out there, right? I mean, we'll certainly think through it. You're absolutely right. And people don't, individuals, I don't want to say don't do it. They're fearful of doing it. It's not that they can't do it. Everybody, you can do that, but there's a fear, I think, associated with that.
what is that fear rooted in, do you think?
Right now, the security of a business and people, I have things in place. Moving into that next level, I don't know that those things will all be in place still, whether they're people, whether they're money, whether they're, whatever level of energy that I need in life. I mean, it's just kind of going into the unknown. I, for one, am looking at it with a level of excitement, but I got to admit that there are times of trepidation.
Yeah, it's interesting. So that's one aspect there that I heard was this idea of security, because when you're in the business and you're in complete control, then at least you can look yourself in the mirror and say, whatever's happening, I have as much control over it as possible. Whereas as you go through a transition, you begin to relinquish control.
Correct.
Now that's one of the, okay, so here, let's talk about that real quick, because one of the profound struggles that I find with someone in your position who is transitioning out of the business, regardless of how they've decided to do it from a financial perspective, they struggle because they look back and they see their folks and what the decisions that they're making, and they begin to think, I'm not going to do it that way, or I wouldn't have done it that way. They second guess. They come back into the business. They move out of the business. There's this kind of herky-jerky thing going on. How are you negotiating all of that?
Well, so let me go back to the word you used that really is a key word, and that's control. Right? Whenever you refer to leaders, you talk about personalities, they're controlling type individuals. But to your point, you're talking about giving up control. So you got to be confident in your skin, right? You got to be confident in what you do have. I may be giving up control of my company. I have invested heavily in the individual. I'll give you an example. The leadership that I have, one of these guys is a young kid that I coached in high school football.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Best friends with my son. This guy is that kid on a football team that carried the team to victory every Friday night.
Right.
I have a young lady who's my CFO who's been with me for the entire time I've been in business. She raised a son by herself, went to school and got her degree. I got another individual who's been with me for 15 years, an engineer type. I mean, these are people that quite frankly, I have all the confidence.
There you go.
That they will succeed. The confidence is not in them. The confidence is in me letting go, right?
So that's really now. Okay, so here let's just explore that. I'm just going to make a statement here. If you are the owner of a construction company and you are looking to transition it to the next generation, and you do not have confidence in the group of people that you're transitioning it to, then you are fooling yourself and you need to rethink your plan.
You are SOL, my friend. Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, so what's interesting though is that you have a history with these people that is giving you that confidence.
Yes, both professionally and personally.
That's interesting. And that's something that you've built that history because you've invested in relationships with them.
Right. But as importantly, Eric, the relationship between these individuals that are going to be taking on the company have to understand their relationship with one another, because you still have to have a leader.
Right.
If there's 4 people involved, they're not all number ones.
Yep.
There's going to be a number 4, a number 3, and a number 2.
There you go.
And they have to understand. And so I'm preparing these folks for the importance of whatever number they are.
Okay. See, that's key here. A couple of different things here as well. It would seem that understanding yourself would have an impact on what type of transition you want to go through. And so let me explain that. Let's say you're the person who has just built your business to a particular level, and you haven't necessarily been the strongest at coaching and mentoring other people, but it's been driven by you from the start. Perhaps an internal transition is not the best idea for you, and you should look for an external opportunity to sell the business. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that that's a great observation, but how does that individual come to that conclusion on their own? Because if their world is somewhat limited, their worldview is somewhat limited, how do they come to that conclusion? They have to have some external sources that are sharing with them that idea, I would think, right?
Well, they have to have someone who's willing to tell them the truth.
And more importantly, they have to have the ability to listen to that truth.
Yep.
Yeah. Because I've heard people tell the truth and get slapped for it, right?
Yes.
But you have to be willing to listen to that truth and understand. And we're working through that right now. We're working through trust. We're working through, issues of conflict. We're working through accountability. We're working through those levels of organizational building blocks that are important for that next level to succeed. And we're doing it, and we're doing it well.
That's excellent. So again, we keep kind of circling around this, but you've stated it well, that you've got this group of, 3 or 4 folks, and you're working through the power dynamics of the new generation in terms of the leadership and the responsibility. What is one thing that you're focused on to make that process as healthy as possible?
I would say that the one thing that I'm focused on is that at the end of the day, the individuals all realize and respect and agree with the level of responsibility that I've placed within each one of them.
Right.
That I've made the right call. They all agree with it. They respect it, and we move forward that way. Because the worst thing in the world would be to think that I have that, and I have a team that falls apart. And people would say, "Well, what are you going to do if that happens? Well, would you come back?" Well, yeah, but that's not my goal. My goal is not to leave with the idea that it's going to fall apart. My goal is to leave with the idea that it's going to succeed.
So, what are you doing to ensure or to clearly see that those things are happening in terms of people understanding their role and embracing their role?
So we have lots of checks and balances. We just got done today with our weekly meeting. We meet as a leadership team regularly. I meet with every one of them every 2 weeks, one-on-one progression.
There you go.
Because I want to get their feedback as individuals, and I want to be able to coach them. Because as a group, I hear one thing, and I want to make sure that as individuals, those understandings and agreements are in line with each other, both as a group and as individuals.
Yep. It seems like if you're going to do a succession successfully, and you're still right in the middle of it, so it'll be interesting to talk to you in 5 years from now and see how it's gone.
Yes.
But you have to be able to pick your path in terms of the structure of the deal, so to speak, the structure of how you're going to pass off the company. In your case, you've picked the gifting / purchase structure.
Yes.
Then you have to pick your personnel that match up with that structure, and those things are kind of working hand in hand, it seems like.
That is correct. They are working hand in hand.
And then once you have that in place, the personnel and the structure, you then have to stay involved from the coaching perspective, making sure that team of the second generation is being developed so that they can take the company on as you are transitioning out of the business.
Exactly. So I will step away. As I mentioned earlier, Eric, one of the most important things to me is to watch how the dynamics, how individuals react with one another throughout my company, right? Well, this is not going to be any different. So when I put this next generation, to your point, in place, I'm not walking away. I'm just going to stand back and watch and guide and coach and continue to do those soft things that I do, business development. I like to refer to it as shaking hands and kissing babies.
Yep.
Doing those kinds of things while I'm watching my team and guiding them, tweaking and making the necessary changes over that next period of time. How long is that time? I don't know. Could be a year, could be 2 years, could be 3 years.
So that's an interesting thing, because I think when you make that decision to make the transition, sometimes it can be for some people that they're like, well, I'm done. And it's easy to emotionally check out or something like that.
Right.
But from what you're telling me, once you've made the decision, then you have to commit to being involved through the transition and not kind of just halfway through or abandoning it.
Yes. Well, I'll give you an example. We started off the discussion with moving to Nevada.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to move this week. I was expecting to move next year.
Interesting.
Right? So all of a sudden, everything gets accelerated, and you have to adapt.
Yep.
I think that's one of the most important words in the vocabulary that I've learned from mentors of mine, from people in the military, that when things don't go the way you want them to, if you can't fix them, you adapt. And so I'm going to adapt.
So that's interesting how the mindset that you did learn in the military. By the way, what branch were you in? What's of the service?
I was in the Air Force.
Air Force. How many years?
4 years.
4 years. Okay, yeah. So you learned some principles in terms of leadership and in terms of problem solving that you're still applying, 30 years later?
Most definitely, yes.
It's more than 30 years, but I was kind of giving you the discount there. Okay, so as we wrap up the conversation here, let's say it's interesting, because let's say I'm a guy, I'm in my 40s, I'm in my early 50s, and I still got a good 10, 15 years left, so I'm not necessarily thinking of succession tomorrow. Should I be thinking about my succession plan today?
I would say most definitely yes. That's the one, I don't want to call it a regret, but it's certainly the one thing that I would do differently. And everybody has shared that with me. Even my CPA and the attorneys, I should have been thinking about this 5, 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I would highly recommend that to anybody who's looking at 10 to 15 years in advance.
Why weren't you thinking about it 5 or 10 years ago, do you think?
Well, I think that I was thinking about it, but I wasn't investing the right amount of time.
Okay.
I was always on the fringes. I think because I was so busy making life happen that I wasn't thinking about what was happening next.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. So again, it's easy to say, it's hard to do.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. It seems like if you're going to make that successful transition, you have to be extremely intentional about it and take an incremental, patient approach to it.
Yeah. I mean, you got to plan, right? What do they talk about, plan and failure? I mean, you got to plan for those things.
Yeah.
And if you want to reap the benefits of serenity, you better plan.
So let's just wrap up the conversation here. Well, what are just 2 or 3 very practical words of advice you would give to a construction company owner as they're thinking about this transition process?
Well, I would say that I hope that you have more than a couple of years ahead of you to do so, that I would be looking at it, as we said, 5 to 10 years in advance,
Right on.
at least 5 years, be looking at planning that process. Identify the individuals that if in fact you are going to transition to people that currently work for you, or as importantly, if you sell, are you going to sell to somebody who's going to take the people that are important to you? Identify those people that are important to you and invest in letting them know that. Otherwise, everything that you've worked for, I would think, is for naught. Setting money aside.
Yep. So start the process early, identify what the process is going to look like, and then give concentration to working with the people who are going to be involved in that process.
Exactly. In one way or another.
Okay, excellent. Well, I know that here's a question I like to ask my guests. I didn't prepare you for this one though, but what's your favorite vacation spot?
I'm going to have to say, I do a motorcycle ride every year by myself. I take a week off and I ride my motorcycle.
What's your motorcycle?
What's that?
What kind of motorcycle?
I have a Harley Davidson Road King Classic.
There you go.
And I got to say that my time spent riding in the state of Montana.
Wow.
Is probably first or second to going to Hawaii for a week or two.
Why Montana? What about Montana?
Oh, the beauty. In the summertime, the beauty of Montana with the streams and the forest, the green, the animals, it truly is God's country.
That's awesome. So get on your Harley and get out to Montana, and if you can't get there, at least get on the plane and hop out to Hawaii. Huh? What island in Hawaii if you go to Hawaii?
We go to Oahu. We go to a place called Ko'olina, and it's very nice, the north shore of Oahu.
Awesome. North Shore of Oahu. Well, I really appreciate your time and your insights. It's been very valuable, and I do wish you well as you go through this process.
Eric, thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.
This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership.